Business Takeout presents.
This is Ched Talks with Chedwick Crieghtney.
Good evening. It's so great to be here. I'm live tonight, Ched Talks. I am alone, and I just have so many wonderful things to talk with you about. But first of all, let me talk to you a little bit about Business Takeout. Business Takeout is a non-profit social enterprise it provides business education and resources such as business blogs, podcasts, shows, and events. Our mission is to increase awareness in the black wealth and empower our community. Ched Talks in particularly, I wanted to make sure that I got to the younger crowd. I wanted to make sure that I spoke to my audience, men in particularly. I want to empower, I want to motivate, and I want to educate you on how you can be your best self. Particularly tonight, I don't have a guest, but I wanted to talk to you, the audience, and I want you to engage with me. If you could, please feel free to log in via YouTube, Facebook. We are on also on LinkedIn. I'll be willing to answer any questions that you have about our particular topic. Tonight's topic is something that's very near and dear to me because I've known so many people that suffers from this. It's about self-doubt. It's about those doubts that creep into your mind that that stops you from succeeding. We all have them. In particularly, I want to talk to you about those doubts that stop you from pursuing and achieving your dreams. Okay, so I'm going to give you some tips tonight. We're going to talk a little bit and address some of these things first. And then what we're going to do is we're going to answer some of your questions, and we're going to give you some strategies in how to overcome some of those self-doubts. Okay, so first of all, have you particularly ever felt doubt? Have you thought about, am I not good enough? Have you thought about, this idea may be not good or it's stupid? Or have you sat around and just thought, despite all the education and the knowledge and the experience, everything that you have, you still look back and you think, geez, you know what? I'm not good enough. Or what if I go up there and I fail? There are a lot of people that suffers from those kind of doubts. I always say that it's not a bad thing to have some kind of doubt. It's those checks and balance that keeps us sane, and it keeps us from making those crazy mistakes sometimes. But it should not prevent you from achieving your dreams and your goals. So let's dig a little bit into what those self-doubts are. Sometimes it's just criticism. It's all kinds of criticisms. You sit there and you talk about, geez, do I look well? Do I look right? Am I right for the part? This may be not measure up to what others may want. So we have to be able to look past those things and try to find out within ourselves how we conquer, how we move forward, and not be crippled by fear or by doubt. So those feelings of fear and doubt, we often liken them to what's called imposter syndrome. So imposter syndrome, essentially, is when somebody, no matter how great and how much they've achieved, they still have doubt in what they're achieving or what they're going to do. I believe the head of there's a woman that was hired head of one of the Facebook. Head of Facebook, and despite all her credentials, all her achievements, she was having doubts, and she almost quit. She almost left because, she had those doubts in her mind that, maybe sometimes someone's going to figure me out, that I'm not good enough. Maybe someone's going to look at me and say, geez, it's all been luck that she's gotten so far. And, until she was able to seek some help and conquer that, she would not have been able to get over it. So, tonight I really want to talk to you, and I really want you to fire off your questions and fire some of your concerns into me and tell me a little bit about some of those doubts that you had, and perhaps share with me how you did overcome them, or if you haven't just yet, how you managed to get through to the day-to-day without giving up on yourselves. So first of all, we did talk a little bit about how they come in. And then I'm going to go through one at a time and talk to you about the simple steps that we can take to conquer those, right? So first of all, let's talk about number one on my list. I say it's practice self-affirmations, right? You hear this all the time. You hear people talking about, self-affirmation. What is that? So it's when you talk to yourself. You essentially sit back and you discuss with yourself all the great things that about you. You talk about, you may reflect in the mirror and talk about how great you look, how great your nose looks, how great your body is, how great your mind is, your thoughts, how great the success that you had so far, how well you did in school. You may even reflect on those people that you've helped so far in your life and align them with your moral values. I always say that, the easiest way to overcome some of those fears and some of those doubts is by really reaching out and helping others and focusing on on that infinite living is what I always refer to, is when we're living our lives to a way that, people are going to want to emulate us when we're no longer here. It's that old saying that when I die, even the undertaker is going to shed a tear. They want to be able to live the life that you live, the way you lived your life. So let's always be mindful of that. And if we are, then the doubts will go away. I often say then, if we have fear, we have doubts, all we have to do is think back and say, you know what? What's the worst that could happen? And when we reflect like that, we will usually come up with, geez, it's not that big of a deal. So let's talk a little bit about, so that's number one, self-affirmation. So we sit there, we talk to ourselves, we encourage ourselves about the things that we've done well, and we try to get through it that way. So that's another way to just strengthen those. It's like strengthening the muscle. It's like, going to the gym and lifting those weights or doing those push-ups, sit-ups. It strengthens your body so you can be more, so you be stronger going into whatever it is that you're going to take on. Secondly, we want to talk a little bit about my second point is to remember your past achievements. That's similar to your self. It's a little bit different from self-affirmation, but remembering your past achievements. Remember that time that you either helped someone or when you were successful on an exam, on a test. When you were successful, perhaps with an assignment that you did. If you think back, I bet you had doubts and you had fears at that same time as well. But you were able to get past it, and you probably thought to yourself, my favorite thing is, what did I say a minute ago? What's the worst that can happen? And if we constantly say that to ourselves and we really reflect and look back, oftentimes we're just going to realize that, you know what? Nothing bad is going to happen. 90% of what we think and what we believe is going to happen, and what we fear often never does. So if we go with that approach and try to conquer our fears, then oftentimes we will be able to be successful and overcome those doubts. Number three, do not compare yourself to others. Now, it is often said that people, especially nowadays with social media, we sit there and we look at others' success. We look at their success stories, or what I call is the shortened version of the story. A story often, a true story anyways, give you a beginning, a middle, and an end. In today's environment, we see highlights. We see people's highlights. We don't see the trials, the tribulations, all the failures that went into that success. I think it was Richard Branson that said, for every success that we have, there were thousands of failures. If we can remember that, and if we approach our life with, so what if I fail? So what if it didn't work out? Failure is failure is a good thing. It just brings you closer to that answer, closer to the success. So we have to be mindful of the fact that we may fail, And like I said, it's those checks and balances, but do not make that overshadow your ability to go forward. Don't stand still or be crippled by that fear or by that doubt. So let's always try to look forward and try to overcome those fears and those doubts. So again, the number 3 is not comparing yourself to others. Again, you don't know what their journey was. And secondly, we all have our own measure of success. What may be successful or maybe failure for some may not be for others, right? What do we see as success can be oftentimes misinterpreted by someone else. So let's just try to obtain our own goals, look at our own charts, and then come to the conclusion that we're going to follow our own path and not be so focused on others. Number 5, be mindful of what you think. They say 95% of what we think has been, it's something that was in our mind since we were kids. It's in our subconscious mind. It was planted there by someone, something, the way we lived our lives, right? So if we're able to really control our thoughts, our thinking, then oftentimes those doubts will be conquered. They'll go away. But we have to really, take control of that and be mindful, be present, and also just not focus too much on the negative things. So, because if your mind goes there, and we all have it, like I said, that's what doubt is. If you stay in that state of doubt, of fear, then you will not be able to progress. So let's often, be mindful of your thoughts. The affirmation will help with those thoughts and try to bring the right motivation, right thoughts, and right direction to your brain. So that's what we have to do. We gotta be often. We gotta always, stay on point, stay on our thoughts. Make sure that we change our subconscious mind by consciously repeating the right things to ourselves. Okay. Number 6. Finding validation from within. We a little earlier I said, we have those people that come into our lives that are negative, and actually, you know what? I'm going to jump back a little bit, and I'm going to say before I get to number that one, I'm going to change the order. We have to remove ourselves from those doubters. There are people in your life. Sometimes it's family members. Sometimes they're just close friends. Sometimes it's just people that are lurking in the scenes, that are watching you, that are doubtful of what you're going to achieve, and they bring that doubt into your world. Do not let them penetrate your subconscious. Do not let them get in there and plant that doubt and that fear into your mind. So what we have to do is we have to, and what I say about removing those people from our lives is you gotta be able to, sometimes those family members or those friends that are close to us, they oftentimes have those feelings of doubt, which is in their own brains, and they're manifesting into yours. So how do we handle that? Well, we have to be present for them. We have to love them, we have to honor them, and we have to give them the energy that we have, but we also have to remove ourselves when it comes time for us to pursue those things that we have to pursue. I'm not saying that you get rid of people. I often hear that now on social media. They're saying, get rid of people, get them out of your world, but they're your loved ones, and it's our job. Sometimes we're the bridge, and sometimes we're the ones that are going to need that bridge. So, I don't say that we discard people. What I say is that we help them to bring over to our world in terms of the positive mindset. So, removing yourself from those doubtful situations can be great. Thinking positive is a way to be able to overcome it and not let that penetrate your world. And then it'll bring me to that next point, which I said is about, finding validation from within. So not only are we not concentrating on the doubters, which is number 6. Then number 7 is that we're going to find validation from within ourselves. So how do we do that? Well, it's part of the affirmation that I talked about earlier, but it's also thinking back to where, you had those successes. If you focus more on your successes and the things that you've done right, and not focus too much on those past mistakes or those doubts, then I guarantee you that you will achieve the success that you're looking for. I can't believe I had a bee come into my set and almost came into my face. This is a funny one for you guys to hear. So I eliminated that doubt by getting rid of that bee with a little smack. Thank you so much. So so number 7 is finding validation within yourself. And another way to be able to find that validation within yourself is to is not only remembering those things that you did well, but it's also practicing those little thoughts, those memory things that reminds you of your values. I think our values, if you remember your values, like I said earlier about thinking about that time where you either assisted or helped someone, either a family member or something, it really does help you to align with your values. And if you're aligned with your values and your true deep beliefs, I think, you have no doubt, but you're going to overcome some of those fears and you'll be able to move forward. So, always, refocus on those things and how you can align yourself with those key values. Okay. Remembering that you're your harshest critic, right? If you were asked to criticize someone, a friend of yours or somebody that said, you know what, I want you to tell me something about, I want you to tell me what I look like, how I look. You'll be extremely kind in most cases, right? We're gonna be very gentle. We're gonna let them down easy. Now, why do we do that? But we're so critical of our own selves. Why not step back and say, you know what? I'm not that bad. I am, let's be kinder to ourselves. Let's try to be gentle and be as gentle to ourselves as we would to a stranger. You're not going to, the first sight of a stranger and their shortcomings, we're not going to jump all over them and be so critical that we're going to be hurtful. We're oftentimes going to reflect and say, you know what, it's not so bad, or it's not, let's try to practice that with our own selves. Let's try to be kinder, gentler, and just practice those the soft touches. And I think that'll help us along our journey. Next thing is identifying your values, which I touched upon earlier. So identifying your values simply means those things that are important to you and those things that makes you truly who you are. If you do that and you reflect back on your teachings of kindness, then it'll help you not only be kinder to yourselves, but it'll help you to overcome the doubts that you may have. Okay, that was number 8. Number 9. This is something that I discovered later on in life. It's called keeping a journaling. It's not until a few months back, I was on a program that, we were talking about self-care. And one of the people mentioned self-care as being, or journaling as being one of the best forms of self-care. And I thought, I never thought of that. I never reflected for a second and thought, journaling is self-care. But by all means, it certainly is. It's a great way for you to reflect, to look back and say, what have I accomplished? What have I done? What are the good things that I've done? And also, it helps you to reflect on those mistakes that you've made. And when you're able to reflect on the mistakes that you've made, it's a beautiful way for you to be able to overcome those doubts and fears. You'll be able to look forward and say, you know what? Hey, look, I had this thought before. And part of journaling is journaling those fears, journaling those thoughts that you had. So let's look back and say, well, geez, you know what? I had those thoughts before, and it'll bring you to a place of familiarity where you can say, you know what? I did think of that before. And what's the worst that can happen? I often go back to that. It's a thing that I say with some of my close friends. Every time they're going to do something and they're having the doubts, I said, well, what's the worst that can happen? And when you reflect and when you think about that 90% of the things that we think that's going to happen never do, then we're able to trudge forward and have success. So that's number 9. Number 10. Now, this is something that I think I touched on earlier. Some of the most successful people in the world still have doubts. They still have the self-doubt in some cases, very strong doubts. I reflected on someone that was doing a TED Talk several years ago, and they journaled how they stood up and they froze. And, despite all the information and all the knowledge and all the previous experience that they had, they still had the doubts. So they seek professional help. And that's number 10, is seeking professional help. It's going to that place where you can talk to someone and say, you know what, perhaps it's a mental health professional that can help to direct you to how to not only do self-affirmation, but it helps you to take those negative thoughts out of your head. They may help you to reflect on those positive things, because it's not always an easy thing. Now, I'm not up here telling you that it's easy. It's easy to just go over these 10 things and seek your dream, and then everything's going to be fine the next day. It's constant practice. The highest achievers that you may know are having these doubts. I think I always use sports analogy. Michael Jordan said one time that you're going to miss 100% of those shots that you never take, right? So oftentimes that you go up and you're going to have those fears, you're going to have those doubts, but the ability to stand up and say, you know what? I'm going to take a shot anyway. I'm going to try. I'm going to step forward. I'm going to make that move and see what happens. That is the difference between, being crippled by fear and achieving your dreams, because there's so many people that never achieve their dreams because of the fear and because of the doubt. So don't let doubt kill your dreams. Always make sure that you reflect, utilize these 10 steps and 10 practices that I've outlined here, and try to move forward in having your success. So I'm going to go to the phones and going to go to the prompter right now and get some of these feedback, see what people are saying, see if there are any questions. If you have questions, if you have some, you may disagree with me, say it. So I have someone saying, self-sabotage is a real thing. How do you know if it's a self-doubt compared to a depression or an unidentified medical issue that impacts your energy to get those things done? That is a beautiful question. So the question essentially is, how do we know that it's not a mental health issue, or it's not something, it's depression? That is a tough question. And I'm not going to sit here. I'm not a professional psychiatrist, so I can't tell you that right now. So the best way I would say in this case is to go and seek help. If it's something that I always ask the question, are we depressed or are we broke? In some cases, people are broke and they just feel depressed. Until they get some money, they're all high again and everything is great. But if not, if it persists, even when things are going well and you're still feeling those, not only doubt, but you're feeling depressed, you're feeling down, your energy level is low, then it's time to seek some professional help to try to overcome what that is. And there's nothing wrong with going and getting an assessment, going and getting a second opinion, someone to tell you that, you know what, all your levels are good, everything is good physically, emotionally, mentally, it seems like it's okay. And if it persists to eat at you, then I really do think that you should seek that professional help for somebody that can take care of you. Any other questions? Let me see. If you have any question, please feel free to write them in. How do you get past the feeling of doubt when others are trying to tear you down? That's a great question. And I said it earlier, we're going to have those people in our lives that try to tear you down, those people that doubt you. It's usually, like I said, they're manifesting those things that they have within themselves. If I was brought up and subconsciously I came from a home that was abusive, or I came from a home where people are constantly telling me that I can't, then oftentimes I'm not going to be able to do it. And then if I see someone that's trying something that I believe in my own brain that I can't do, I'm going to tell them that they can't do it. So that's why we have to be able to separate ourselves from those people that are not in your corner, or they may be, they may love you very much, but they just have doubt within themselves. And those doubts are going to be manifested and they're going to be pushing it towards you. You have to be able to separate yourself. You have to be able to say, look, you know what? Yeah, what's the worst that can happen? And then you have to fight beyond that doubt and fight beyond those people that are putting those doubts in you. And then you have to seek deep within yourself, is this what I truly want? And if it is, then you go forward. Do not let your dreams be crushed by others. I don't believe that you're put on this earth to have others suppress you. You have to be able to live your truth. You have to be able to live your dreams, and you have to be able to drive forward on those things that you want to achieve. Now, I'm not saying that, that you're always going to succeed. I did qualify this earlier by saying, yeah, sometimes you may fail, but there's nothing wrong with failure. It just brings you closer to the answer that you're looking for. Failure is just an opportunity to learn, and we really must continue to go forward. I know personally in this business that we have here today, I'm sitting here that when we started our business just shortly before 2018, and when COVID hit just a couple of years later, we're just hitting our stride. And now that doubt came into my mind and saying, well, geez, what am I going to do? What are we going to do? How are we going to get past this? We were just starting to gain our feet. No one was walking into our studio. Nobody was, there were just a few loved ones, people that were encouraging us. But then there are a lot of people that are saying, oh, geez, Ched, what are you going to do? Are you going to just close, or what are you going to do? I guess you're going to go back to work. I heard all those kind of doubts, but you know what? I had to look deep within myself, and I had to say, I want to do better. I want more. I want to achieve my dreams, and I had to push forward and go after them. So yeah, I had to overcome the doubt, and I'm still overcoming those doubts on a daily basis, because yeah, I get up and I say sometimes, you know what? I don't want to get up and go and do, I don't want to get up and work out. I don't want to get up and do anything, but I have to push forward and live for the moment and achieve my goals. Any more questions? Let me see the other question. Come on, folks. You got more question than that. Give me something. Failures are lessons. Absolutely right. They are lessons. And Donna, thank you so much for writing that in. I 100% agree. Every time that we move forward and we fail, it means we tried. It's better to go to your grave saying that, you know what, I tried something, and I always say the only failure is not trying, is sitting back and saying, well, geez, look at everybody else. Look what they're doing. Look what they have. Look what they're doing. Look how well look what they've achieved. And then, when I look at myself, I'm sitting there wallowing it and not trying. So you got to get up and you got to go and give it that old college try. And if you fail, get back up and do it again. Brush it off and try again until you achieve that success. Next question. What's the line between confidence and arrogance? Woo! Wow, great question. Geez, you folks are throwing some tough ones at me tonight. Well, the line between confidence and arrogance is, it's about what you believe. When we step and we're present and we're able to overcome fear, and we're able to look back on our achievements and know that we've constantly achieved success, then you have no reason, or no one else has a reason to think that you're cocky or you're overconfident, right? You should be able to step in your shoes and feel brave, feel confident that what you're about to undertake is the thing for you. Now, people might reflect on the outside and see cockiness or might see overconfidence, but you have to know within yourself what you're going to. I think that's just something that you're going to have to determine within you. Right. Next question. I think I just missed one. If the producer could bring that one back up real quick. Maybe it was just a comment. It's okay to reflect back. Absolutely. That beautiful girl said it's it's okay to reflect back. Thank you so much. Okay. No more questions? Come on, folks. There's quite a few of you on here. If you have questions, I'll be glad to answer them. If not, I'll wrap it up by saying this. You know, I often reflect on two things. One, you'll hear me talk about leadership. In our community, young, old, and indifferent, we're going to come face to face with a few things. Fear. We're going to come face to face with doubt. We're going to come face to face with, any of those little things that are nagging, that are coming at you, that may want to stop you from achieving those things. And all I can say is just repeat what I've said is, remember those 10 things that I reflected on earlier, which is to really move forward. Be conscious of your mind, be conscious of your soul, be conscious of your values. Be conscious of those loved ones that support you. Those supporters are the ones that you want to keep around you. And those naysayers, you have to put them aside. You have to have strong belief in self and demonstrate that confidence that someone early talked about. Confidence is something, like I said, it's something that you're going to find within yourself by not only be mindful of your thinking, your subconscious mind and those doubts that may have been put there earlier. Let's fight them out. And how do we fight them out? We fight them out by remembering those successes that you have and forgetting those negative thoughts and forgetting those failures that you may have. You may not want to forget them. You may want to look at them, reflect on them, and find the path to success that you're looking for. So those are my thoughts for today. I thank you so much for joining me tonight. It was great to sit here and reflect. Next week, I have two guests that's going to be coming into the studio. That's going to be a boiling pot in here. It's going to be a great conversation with two people. I'm not going to say who they are. If you look forward, I'm going to have, quite frankly, I'll tell you I'm going to have Pastor Andre in the house, and I'm also going to have Farley Flex in the house, and we're going to debate. We're going to talk a little bit about leadership. We're going to talk about secular world versus the religious world, and we're going to discuss how we as human beings can find within ourselves those things that can push us forward. Leadership is always a big thing for me, and I often talk a lot about it, because I think in our community, in all our community, we need to be able to reflect, find out who we are. We need to not focus on our past mistakes and be the author of the ending of your story. No matter how old you are, we can always change the ending to our stories, right? If you had some, if we reflect back on some of my past episodes, we saw people that went through some difficult challenges in their lives, and they were able to overcome it and they're having great success now. So if you're watching here tonight and you had some challenges in your life, you may have gone through a relationship breakup, you may have gone through a job loss, you may have lost your business, you may have, had anything that's gone on in your life, and you want to be able to overcome that. The first thing is to cast out the doubts. You have to be mindful of your thoughts. You got to affirm to yourself that you are good and you are great. And you gotta be able to live that with confidence. And I thank you so much for joining me tonight. If you have any questions, you can always join me. Ched Talks is the way to go. Write to me at Ched Talks. You can hit me up on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for joining me here tonight, and we'll see you next time on Ched Talks.
If you enjoy our programming and want to help support Black entrepreneurship, please donate today. www.businesstakeout.com/donate.